Okay, so this video here is going to show you how to test your Ryobi electric lawnmower controller. So I have three different controllers here from three different mowers, and I'll show you, they're all very similar. This one here is from the 21-inch cut, which is their newer mower. Notice the controller looks a little beefier. There's 4 capacitors on here. The older style, this is the gray 20-inch cut, and this is the green 20-inch cut. Notice what they did on the 20-inch cut. They kind of took the, what I'll call the switches, and put them into this connector here. It's a 3-prong connector, but really this does the same thing as this model here, except for it has a different number of switches. So this is for, on the 20-inch, this is for the magnetic switch that detects your bagger. And this here is your start, your momentary push button start, and where you pull the handle back. That's what these three do. So all they did was kind of just put it in a different style connector. And on the 21-inch, actually, I have a self-propelled, so there's a second controller, which is the drive controller for the wheels. And then that controller feeds into here. But the same kind of logic applies. It's literally just telling the motor when to come on and turn off. So all three of them are kind of the same. You have your red and black, you have your red and black here, and it comes from your battery, and basically it's 40 volts. Same thing on this controller over here. This is 40 volts. This goes out to the motor, and this is, for the lack of defining what it really is, it's 3-phase AC. And same thing over here, 3-phase AC, and the same thing over here, 3-phase AC. So the way that I found to test these reliably to see if they're good or not, because when your mower stops, you're gonna be in a situation where it's one of three things. It's either the controller went bad, the electric motor went bad, or the switches went bad. One of your switches went bad, causing it not to turn on. Now on one of the mowers, it turned out the controller and the motor were good. It was the switches. So and I don't condone bypassing it, but to test it, you can bypass it. So what I did here was, oh, we got someone that came into the picture here. So what I did on this one here was, and she's probably not gonna leave, I just put these three together, and then I put these two together. So the gray wire over here is just not used. This orange wire, I believe, is the wire that goes to the battery that detects if it gets too hot or not. And you'll see that orange wire on all three of them. And I believe, I'm not 100% sure on this, but I believe this is for the hall sensor. These motors here don't require a hall sensor. And ironically, this is very similar to an e-bike motor controller. So I'm unsure the wattage on these, but I'd be willing to bet this one here is the highest wattage. Just because it looks more beefier than these other two. But anyway, to get long story short, you need to find a multimeter. We got someone else in the picture now. You need to we need to find a multimeter here, and you want to set it to resistance, because what we want to check is the resistance of the 3 wires that go to the motor. And I'm going to show you a scenario where we have a good controller and we have 2 bad controllers. And unfortunately, I do believe I know what happened to this controller here. When I took it apart, if you look inside the controller, you could actually see where water got into the controller. And what I think happened on it is, you can kind of see here too on the traces. It looks like when it came on, it shorted something out inside. So this one looks like it got water on it, even though there is a waterproof kind of gasket on both sides. Water still got into this one, and I do believe that it ruined it. But anyway, so the good one, what I found out is there was like, now this has been sitting a while, so your resistance might be higher or lower depending on how quickly you take it out from the battery. But in general, what you want to do is you want to take one of the leads and you want to connect it to the black wire first, and you want to check all 3 wires. So when I touch the black to the blue, on the multimeter, you're going to see right there about 9K ohms of resistance. And you should see that across all three. So when I switch it to the green, you're going to see about the same. And then when I switch it to the yellow, you're going to see about the same. So that's a sign of a good controller. Now you also have to check the other side. So if I go to the red on the multimeter and then the same three wires. So I'm going to go red to blue and I got about 9, 10. Notice that goes up. That's because there is capacitors in here. When I hit the green, same thing, 12K ohm. When I hit the yellow, around the same thing, 6K ohm. Now, it could read a lot higher, like I said, depending on when you remove this from the battery or not. But when you have a problem with one of these controllers, it's either going to be a short or it's going to be an open. So on this controller here, I think it's an open, so I'm going to do the same test. I'm going to go black to green, and I got 9. That's good. I'm going to go to yellow. I got 9, and I got blue, and I got 9. The problem is not that side. The problem is on when I hit the positive side and do the same thing. So now I go to the positive, and look there, 1.7 mega ohms. So there's basically an open here. When I go to the yellow, same thing. And when I go to the blue, same thing. So what that means is 3 of these MOSFETs in here are bad. And you can tell which one of those 3 are bad by doing a further test of identifying which one is the high side and which one is the low side on these. I'm not going to replace this because I can't tell what else is wrong with it by the fact that it had water damage. This one here, this is the newer style, and everything is potted, so it would be really hard to try to get into this and fix it. It would just be too hard to kind of get all that peeled away, so you just have to replace it. But we're going to run the same test. So we're going to go from the black, and we'll go into the blue first. And you can see right there, 240, 190, okay? And then we're going to go to the yellow, 6 point, gotta make sure I got a good connection here, 6.4, and we'll go into the red. And we're kind of jumping all over the place, 340, 290. So I believe the problem is going to be on the red side, on the positive side. So when we go into there and we hit red and blue, we get 0.2. So we have a direct connection here. So we have a problem. We go into the yellow, 0.2. And we go into the green, 0.2. So again, these are my testing just on 3 different controllers, but what I do believe a good controller is going to put out is where you're not going to see an open or you're not going to see a short. So that's how I test the controllers. In another video, I'll show you how to test the motor. And then between the switches, the controller, and the motor, one of those 3 are going to be bad. So far on all my testing, I had 1 bad mower that had bad switches, which was good because that's an easy fix, which means the controller was good and the motor was good. And then the other 2, it was 2 bad controllers. So, and I think the controllers go bad because when the motor's engaged and it hits something, I do believe if you don't remove it from whatever it's hitting in a short amount of time, I believe these MOSFETs probably heat and blow up. And in this case, I really do believe it may have been a combination of that and or just water being in there and someone turning it on. Okay, hopefully this helps somebody.